Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Rise of the Tomb Raider Survivor difficulty walkthrough. This is Geothermal Valley. It is the third of the wide open mission areas where you can do submissions and challenges and all that kind of good stuff. Lots of investigating, lots of optional tombs, just lots of Rise of the Tomb Raider goodness. And you'll notice when I'm opening these things and they're playing those dialogues, I'm skipping them immediately. I'm doing that for the purpose of getting experience. That being said though, I must admit I don't listen to many of those things, and I'm going to explain why. So, in my opinion, audio logs work best when they work on the go. If you have to stand still in a menu listening to an audio log, you've immediately lost my immersion and you've immediately lost my interest in what you're telling me. To me, that's a fundamental failure. It is an old school, archaic design that needs to go away because the player wants to play. He doesn't want to sit and watch. Some people do, and for those people it's great, but I don't. Like, I'm not looking for an excuse to drink my drink or to eat some food that's sat next to me cooling. I'm playing a fucking game and I want to play. So when you take that away from me, it bothers me. The audio logs on this game both have writing and are narrated, but the narration is so slow, they have barely got through a quarter of it when you've read all of it. And that's terrible too, because if you're giving it me to read, I'm going to read it faster than you're reading it anyway. Especially when you're going, the climbing axe is... It's almost like that fucking Google woman, or that Microsoft voice you can do. Like, it's really bad. They talk way too slow, so you've lost me again. So everything about these logs is against what I like, and I just got so sick of them I couldn't do it, so I would literally just skip them. And there's a lot of information in them about the Prophet. There's a lot of information that's reinforcing information you're getting from cutscenes. There's a lot to see and do there, but I think the way they're presented is just not good enough, in my opinion. And I can completely understand why they don't let you run around and listen to the logs, because of how interactive and dynamic this game is. All the time Lara's talking to herself, all the time you're tripping moments where stuff is happening. Can you imagine that when there's an audio log playing? It'd probably destroy the game because of the way they've made it. And how many games have you played? Like, look at Fallout 4 is a great example, where somebody's talking to you and there'll be a random NPC in the background like, oh yes, I took a shit last week, and you're listening to somebody tell you the most important thing of the game and he's talking about his bowels or whatever, or someone's having a fight and dying and all you can hear is screaming, and you're trying to listen to a cutscene, or when two people talk at the same time and you're just like, this is ridiculous. And it's just those scripting things that happen in those games, because Bethesda are known almost famously for their jank in those big games. Whereas this, much more focused, tapers to a point where it wants you to go, much more controlled. But if you had access of an audio log playing while you were pushing through a game, especially quickly to get to the next zone, it's probably going to be interrupting things and changing dialogues, and everything will be different, varying audio levels. It'd probably be a nightmare to make sure that it worked correctly, so I can appreciate why they perhaps didn't do it. But to me, inexcusable. If Bioshock can do it and set that standard, set that precedent for other games, we should be following it and improving. We shouldn't be making it even worse. Like, I'm trying to think, there was a game recently, I can't remember the name of it though, where the audio logs were like gramophones and you had to stand next to the fucking gramophone to listen to them. And I'm sorry, no. Just no, dude. Just don't. Like, you know a good game that did this? Although it still had its flaws, Metal Gear Solid 5. You could put your cassette player on while you were running around the open world and collecting fruit and shit and animals or whatever, and you could get it done. It was great. Only problem with that is it would affect the dialogue if there was any dialogue happening, which was kind of annoying, and it would alter the volumes of the music, but still a much better way to get your exposition. Even though, like, you're listening to a really important part of a Revolver Ocelot tape, and then he goes super quiet so fucking Kaz can go, what are you doing, boss? You're supposed to do this, boss. Like, fuck off, Kaz. I'm trying to listen to the other dude. And just the general stuff that happens in games. So, yeah, moral of the story, I don't like the audio logs in this game. I like audio logs, don't like them in this game. But we're now going to shoot an arrow into the sun and get the fire arrows. Oh wait, no, that's wrong game. We're going to climb a massive mountain that has an awkward jump that I've failed more times than I care to admit. and then we're going to be progressing onwards to a big firefight sequence that's got one of the toughest encounters in the game, which is really saying something considering it's not that bad. Ooh, another thing too, folks. If you're playing this with better upgrades than me and you've got the ability to do the arrow climbing where she digs the arrow in, you can do that on this. I don't think you can do it on the ice, but you can do it on any other climbing moment, so you never have to use these fucking worthless axes again. You never have to jump and press X and she just doesn't bury them in and you fall to your doom and then you go back to a checkpoint that could have been a lot better considering how wonky the fucking jumping is sometimes. So use the arrows. Really, really great technique. And that's one of the great things this game does. The progression. You get a lot of great tools that really do enhance how you play the game. And a lot of games say this, don't they? They're like, you know, you'll get this and you'll gradually improve and you'll be able to do this. And like, this game has moments that are really, really good. They are night and day moments. They are true revolutions of how you play. Because you go from, you know, slowly climbing walls and shit to being able to bury this arrow, double jump, bury an arrow, double jump, bury an arrow, and you can climb it in literally 3 times faster than you would the normal way. It's really great. And then later on you get the ability to throw your axe on a string, which is ridiculous, but I love it. And it enables you to grab platforms out of reach and do almost mitigate ice climbing, because you can hook it to the top and just climb the rope. Once again though, I do have a criticism with that. It'd be nice if we could climb the rope faster by tapping jump, so that she kind of like, you know, jumped up the rope, because once again, there's so many games that have had this. I'm almost certain like fucking Prince of Persia had this, where we could jump up ropes quicker. It might have been God of War, I'm not too sure what game it was, but I've got it on my brain that when I'm on a rope, if I tap A, I go up it quicker, and on this game, nada. Doesn't work. If anything, she lets go of the fucking thing and you die. So be very careful. But once you're onto this, and that happens every time, that little press X moment, you have to shoot the fire arrow at the signal fire, and then it's going to teleport us to the middle of this structure, which is really handy considering I was wondering at the time, how the hell do I get down from here? And I was going to dive off it and probably die. But now that we've got that upgrade, it'll mean that those yellow tin cans that have been knocking around are going to they're going to give us oil, which is pretty useful when you want to use those particular arrows. And the fire arrows are interesting, but they do not one-shot kill the armoured enemies, so to me, they're not as good as the other choices that you could use. However, incredibly situational, so if you can get a positioning advantage where you can set them off and you can set off something next to them, then it'll probably be really good. But as it stands, not my favourite arrow, even though they are pretty cool against the softer, more squishier enemy types. But another thing to warn you of here, which frustrated me to no end, when you restart a checkpoint, maybe after a cutscene, maybe just as you progress and certain things happen like these animations right now, it resets your arrows. And I noticed this on a checkpoint later on, where the first thing I did was change my arrows, I climbed a tree, and I shot at the first guy to put 2 people asleep. The checkpoint was me up the tree, so feasibly, I should have had sleep arrows on. I didn't, I had explosive arrows on. So the first thing I do when the game gives me control is I look down my sights of the bow and I fire off a grenade arrow, and it alerts everybody, and I'm like, fuck this, restart. I press up to change arrow, go down the sights, fire my arrow, and I'm on grenades again, still. So there are moments where, for some reason, even though you've put on the specific arrow that you want, the game will put you on with a different arrow. So be very careful with that, especially after reloading a checkpoint. Never assume you've got the right arrow on, always try and press on the D-pad to make sure you've got the right one on, because it'll save you resets, it'll save you annoyances. The amount of times I got really fucking mad because I wanted to use a poison arrow, I put a poison arrow on, and then for whatever reason, because I've not quite found what reason it is, I had an explosive arrow on. And I think it's just the default arrow when you reload a checkpoint. But that's a bit dishonest, isn't it, just then? That guy right there is through a window, and I could see him, but because the aimer didn't go red, it meant that I couldn't hit him. Also, you're going to see me fight the cover here. See that? She went into cover automatically, did not want that at all. Because cover's bad in this game. Cover is a big no-no. You know, if it worked like Uncharted and you could blind fire, it'd be great. But this is a game where, for whatever reason, Lara does not seem to blind fire, and maybe there's a button sequence that lets you blind fire and I never found it, and that'd be a hilarious fail on my point, but just never happened. You know, you pressing trigger from cover and you get knocked. There's a couple of dudes here trying to do the cover. I'm going to get shot in a moment as well because he can hit me through that hole, which is a little disappointing. But it happens. There we go. Oh, maybe not. I'm almost certain I get shot here. Yeah, there it was. But do you see how powerful these power positions are when you can get something like this piece of surface in front of you? And then as we push through here, we're going to be taking on a flamethrower guy. So the flamethrower guy, this is the only time you fight one, which is baffling. Why was this guy not with a bunch of other enemies later on? That would have been hard, because this guy's a dick, and he cheats. And I'm going to show you proof of him cheating in a moment. So you want to hit his pack, get away from him, and then hit his pack again. However, he can do fire through geometry, which I disagree with. Fire does not go through things, it burns through things. Watch this. Is it this one? No, I don't think it is. I think it's now. It's going to happen. So, like, you see that? See how he turned the flame just then through this wagon? Completely through it, as if it's not there. Which I think that's stupid. But that hurt a lot. However, he's dead, so it's okay. But that is an enemy that I've tried all the different weapons on him, and I felt that the shotgun just seemed to do more. As I double check the map. And yeah, so because we're not in combat, our life recuperates to the bloody screen, but it doesn't get rid of the blood. As I mentioned previously, you might not have seen that video though, the only way to get rid of the blood is to heal, which I'm not doing this entire playthrough. This is a no healing run, even though I'm not going to stress it in the title or anything. Is to skin an animal or hit a campfire. They're the only two ways of getting rid of the blood. Outside of the last episode where the blood just vanished as we moved into the new area. That was weird. But this right now is another one of those calm before the storm, where I'm going to do some looting, going to pick up some relics, going to boost my levels, try and get a couple more points into things. And then I'm going to be progressing onwards to some tricky fights. And the good news here is it's a couple of fights in a row, so it really makes you feel like the combat stepped up a little bit, but it's going to end rather swiftly, and it still isn't too challenging. And I just want to put a footnote to these kind of statements that I'm saying in this game. If you're having trouble with this game, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. 100% nothing wrong with it, guys. Difficulty is subjective. Everybody has different skills and abilities. Everybody has different levels of their ability and skill. If you're finding this game really tricky, hopefully these videos help. I don't want to offend anybody by saying that I don't find it hard. I'm just being honest, guys. You know, I'm not trying to put out this opinion of myself that is this godly gamer that does everything right and never makes mistakes, because it's the complete wrong impression. I'm just like anybody else. I fuck up until I learn not to do so. You know, I'm bad at games until that flip switches. And I said that wrong, didn't I? Switch flips? I don't know. It kind of worked. I'll let it off. Ooh, we can heal. But I'm terrible at games until that moment where I stop being so terrible. And I get a little bit better, and then a bit more practice, and then it all comes out. And then you can compound this with the fact that I've played a lot of games, and I've played a lot of games quite regularly, because I play games a lot. So that, you know, it all adds to that collective experience, and it enables me to approach them in a very particular way, and generally have a large measure of success. And then I record that, and it shows the success, and then I edit out all the bits that weren't successful. So it gives you this almost dishonest version of how I play Tomb Raider, which is, I am amazing all the time, and I do all these awesome things without dying, which is not right, but that's what this walkthrough is, and it's what it's meant to be. Because showing me dying all the time doesn't help you. Showing you cutscenes doesn't help you. Nobody needs a video to help you get through a cutscene. If you need help getting through a cutscene, you're going to need way more help to get through life. And I really do fear for you, but the people watching this are all capable human beings. You're either here for the discussion on the video or the comment section, or you just want to watch and see what I do, or you are struggling and you're hoping to find some solace in the strategies that I implement, and I hope we can hit it on all those measures. And I think we will, because this is a fun game. It's a fun game that's getting some shit from certain YouTubers, which I'm going to discuss once we've got some time, but we're coming towards the end of this video, so I'm not going to get too deep into that. But the reviews for this game, I feel, have been quite fair. I do think that there are some criticisms of it, which will probably be in my review, because I think I'm going to review this game. It shouldn't be too long. Try and do like a speedy one, because there's not too much to talk about. Do you know why? This is such a sequel, it's not even funny. The amount of sequelness in this sequel is ridiculous. And I'll explain that in later videos. So thank you for watching, and you take care now.